Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to Answers Life. I hope everyone's doing great today. Well, I'm pretty sure many of you that watch social media on a regular basis realize that there's been an uptick of content creators on social media, especially TikTok, that have been voicing their opinions about the housing market. Many of them have been voicing their regret of becoming a homeowner and all the headaches, all the expenses of home ownership. And you have a lot of people wishing that they were still renters as opposed to homeowners at this point. You also have a increase of home foreclosures that are going on as well. Well, on this video, I'm most likely not going to cover all the reasons why all these things are transpiring, but I'm going to talk about some of them at least. In no particular order. Well, I would say the first reason why a lot of people are regretting their decision to become a homeowner is because, well, let's start with 2020. We all know what happened during 2020. Many of us also know what transpired following 2020. You had a lot of companies that allowed their employees to work from home. They allowed their employees to work remotely. A lot of people, naturally, they love the idea of not having to get up and report to the office. You had certain people that may have worked in the city. Therefore, they had to live in the city or they had to live close to the city. You got people that may have worked higher paying positions that could only be found in more expensive regions of the country. So when those people discovered that their job was going to allow them to work remotely full time, naturally a lot of these people, in order to save money, in order to also improve the quality of their life, they decided to pack up and leave their expensive, overpriced city, and they decided to move to smaller communities, and in many cases purchase homes. Like, rather than being stuck living somewhere in a expensive metro area and all you can afford is a condo, you can't even afford an actual detached structure home. You had a lot of these people that, you know what, they decided to get rid of their condos, or they decided to get rid of their houses with a small postage stamp size lot, and they decided to move further out into rural communities. People that may have lived up north, rather it be the Northeast, rather it be even the Midwest or the Northwest. You had a lot of people leave the northern region of the country and they decided to move south where it's warmer, you got more sunlight, and in many cases your cost of living is also lower as well. So there's a whole plethora of reasons why people decided to relocate. And I would say 2020 to 2021 was one of the biggest reasons. And of course, with rent prices continuing to increase, you also had a lot of people that thought that homeownership would be cheaper, homeownership would be more, it would make more financial sense to be a homeowner as opposed to a renter, since rent prices continue to go up. So people probably thought, okay, well, if I pay X amount of money in my mortgage, the X amount of money I pay in my mortgage is going to be cheaper than my rent. And for some people that's the case, but for most people it's actually the other way around. By the time you factor in property taxes, homeowners insurance, PMI, if you put down less than 20%, and so on and so forth. So, and I would say another reason why many people are regretting their decision to become a homeowner is because, well, sometimes life happens and you might have to turn around and sell your home. And when you for those that may have purchased their homes at the peak of the market in some regions of the country, which that peak may have been in 2021, 2022, and now, maybe in 2024 or this year and in 25, life happened. Maybe your job called you back to the office, so now you have to go back home to wherever you were living before because of your job. Or maybe you moved to a region where you got laid off, and the region that you moved to happened to have not the best economy, so now you're having trouble finding work. Or other things could have transpired in a person's life that causes them to have to turn around and sell their home a few years later, or even sooner after they purchased their home. So when you're in a predicament where you gotta sell your home, let's say, 2-3 years later, or in some cases even less than that, for whatever reason, in the majority of cases, people are losing their money. People are losing their money. Like the last 2 houses I've sold, I've lost money. The house I sold in Indiana last year, I lost $15,000. The house I just sold a few days ago, I lost $10,000. You got a lot of people that when they're selling their homes, whether they're doing it because they want to or they're doing it because they have to, the majority of these people are losing money. Because for those of you that don't realize how mortgages work, whenever you purchase a home through a mortgage, the first 3 years, give or take, of your payments, the bulk of that money to all of that money goes towards interest, not the principal. I mean, the money you pay that goes towards the principal, you don't start touching the principal until your 4th year. And even then, very little of your money goes towards the actual principal. So it's going to take a very long time before you start to notice a significant dent in the principal that you pay for those of you that are paying a mortgage. With all that being said, you got a lot of people having to sell their homes and they're losing money. Like when they go to the table at closing, rather than leaving the table with a check or even leaving the table with just everything broke even, everything's clear, you owe nothing, you're not getting nothing back, you don't owe nothing. Rather than leaving the table like that, you got a lot of people having to show up to the closing table with a check to hand over to the people that are doing the closing to bring the property balance to zero. Because, for those of you that don't know this, you cannot close on a property unless the balance on that property is zero. Everything about that property, the balance has to be zero. You can't owe no mortgage, you can't owe no taxes, nothing. Everything gotta be clear, it's gotta be zero. So you got a lot of people having to come to the closing table with a check. Now for those that are forced to have to get rid of their home for one reason or another, and they happen to not have that money available to show up to closing with a check, those are the people that you see their homes being foreclosed on. Or two, if they get lucky, rather than having to have a foreclosure on their credit, their bank might work out something to where they do what's called a short sale. Basically, a short sale is where the bank will accept less money on the house than what you initially owed. So you got you're going to have more houses that are going to be online, and they might be a short sale. And there's also going to continue to be an uptick of houses that are foreclosures. I've seen a few of those myself. Now I will say right now the prices of the foreclosures even are way more than what I think the housing prices ought to be. But there's definitely an uptick in foreclosures. Those are the people that basically they owe what they owe, and they're not able to, they don't have the money available to show up to the closing table with a check to bring the balance of their home to zero. So that's another big reason why a lot of people are regretting home ownership. Now, and another reason why I believe people are regretting home ownership is because, well, many of us, we watch YouTube, and many of us, we love nothing more than to watch a YouTube video telling us the top 10 towns to live in, the top 10 cities to live in, the cities that supposedly have the top 10 best economies, the top 10 the cities, the top 10 cities with the highest paying jobs, the friendliest towns, all that type of stuff. And I'm pretty confident that there's been a lot of people watching those kind of videos, and based on those videos, they decide to purchase a home in one of those cities, in one of those towns. And of course, we all know, whenever you have a significant number of people moving to only a few chosen places, it's going to drive up the demands for houses in those cities, which is going to naturally drive up the housing prices in those cities. And in some of these cities, they may not have the economy to accommodate for the significant population increase. So therefore, some of these cities, they might go from having what would have been considered a robust economy to their economy is so-and-so, or their economy might even become more competitive because of all the people moving to that particular metro area. So you got people that move to these ideal cities, and when they move there, the city is the city, town, wherever, it is not what the person may have anticipated. Like, they might move somewhere thinking that people are friendly. They get there and they find out people are a bunch of jerks. They might move to some of these cities down here in the South and assume, okay, Southern hospitality. They get down here and they find out that some of the people down here are actually colder and ruder than people up north. Or they might move to some of these cities hoping that, okay, they're going to be able to make friends. They're going to be able to find that special someone to start a relationship with. And then when they move to some of these places, again, surprise, surprise, they don't make friends like they've anticipated. And a lot of people might find that making friends in some of these places are way harder than what they've anticipated. So they go to some of these places, they live there for maybe a year or two, or even less than that in some cases. They turn around, they sell their house, and then they go back to where they came from because they moved to that other place and found out that the grass was not, for them at least, they found out that the grass in that other city that YouTube was pushing it's not any greener on the other side after all. They were actually better off where they came from. And even when I use myself as an example, I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. Now I have myself a damn nice house where I'm at in Alabama. But like I told you guys before, I'll tell you again. I mean, there's things I miss about Indiana. There's things about Indiana that I miss. And there's a lot of other people that might move to the South, or they might move to other regions of the country, and they find after a while they miss home. They get homesick. Some people, they get homesick so bad that they sell their homes in their new area, and they go back to where they came from. And of course, whenever you sell a home and you move, especially if you're moving across the country like I've had, or you're moving a significant amount of hours and distances away, moving ain't cheap. Moving is expensive. It's time consuming. It's tiresome. and and it can be very expensive, especially if you have a lot of stuff or you're traveling at, like I said, significant distances. And people that you may have thought were going to help you move, for whatever reason, they don't show up, they don't help you, and guess what? Now you gotta help. Now you gotta hire your own movers, which will add to that expense. And of course, whenever you purchase a home, you're gonna almost always have a surprise that's gonna pop up. It could be something small like your sink is you have an old sink that's leaking, so you have to go to Lowe's and get you a new sink. Or it could be something major like there could be something wrong with, let's say, your plumbing or your electric, God forbid. Or you purchased a home that had an older climate control unit, and now all of a sudden your climate control unit went out. So either A, if the old unit is repairable, the technician might charge you $1,000+ to do that work. Or B, you might have to go buy a whole new unit, which, depending on the square footage of your home and what kind of climate control unit you have, you could be looking at anywhere from a few thousand to, I'll just say, $10,000. And there's a lot of people that are out here buying houses that they don't have that kind of money to just, here you go, fix my stuff. You also got a lot of people that, due to unexpected situations like that, since they don't have the money to fix that type of stuff right away on the spot to where they can pay cash, you got a lot of people that use credit cards. They run up credit cards to fix some of that stuff, and then before you know it, guess what? Not only do they have to pay that mortgage, but now on top of that, they also got to pay this credit card balance up because they ran up their credit card because they had to do a whole bunch of crap to their house that they weren't expecting to have to do. So those are more reasons why people are regretting becoming a homeowner, for those that recently became a homeowner. And in some cases, and this is the mistake I made with the last house that I owned, the one I just sold. You got people that might purchase a home in a particular region of the country because, well, the housing cost there is lower. So they assume that the quality of life in that area is going to be better. Like maybe you might have someone that, you know what, they want to own some land. They want to own acreage. They want to, or you got people that might be chasing the climate. They want to be somewhere where it's warmer, it's sunny out, it doesn't snow, all that good stuff. So there's a lot of people that have purchased homes in areas that simply did not have the best economy. So they went to that. But you got a lot of people that were thinking, okay, well, the housing prices are low. I can get me a job doing whatever, and I'll be okay. But then you go to those areas, and you, like I did, and you come to find out that not only is the job market in that particular area trash, but unfortunately, sometimes when you deal with smaller economies, you also deal with people that are small-minded. You deal with people, like if you're a minority, or if you even live some kind of an alternative life, you might deal with employers that are small-minded, that are biased. They'll waste a half hour of your time asking you a gazillion questions about your life and blah, 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 this and that and the third. And then they tell you, okay, well, we'll give you a call in a couple of days, whatever. And then if you're lucky, they'll just give you a rejection email. If you're not so lucky, they're not going to tell you nothing, and you'll just have to get the hint that for whatever reason you did not get the job. And even if you would have got the job, the position may have paid you something like $12 an hour. And if you want a position to where you're making even, let's say, $15 an hour, do you have a bachelor's degree? You don't got that bachelor's degree? You're not making no more than $12 an hour in some of these economies. So there's people that have ran into those type of situations. And due to situations like that, they had to sell their home. And in most cases, they took a loss on their home and they had to pay moving expenses on top of that. And they had to move back to where they came from. Well, they had to at least move to another area to where the economy was a lot stronger. And now they're having to start over from ground zero in many cases. So that's another reason why a lot of people who recently purchased homes for the first time are regretting being a homeowner. Because of course, if you're a renter and you move somewhere and you find that the area for one reason or another is not a good fit for you, I mean, either A, you can stay in the area and when your lease is up, pack up and be gone. You don't have to worry about hiring a realtor to sell your home. You don't got to worry about showings. You don't got to worry about sitting around waiting for God knows how long before your home sells. You just pack up and be gone. Or two, some apartment complexes or some landlords, they might say, okay, well, if you pay this fee, you can terminate the lease early and be out of here. So it'll be cheaper to do that as opposed to being a homeowner and then ending up in the wrong place. And speaking of that, and that's another thing. If you, for whatever reason, decide that you have to leave a location to move back home or move to another location, who knows how long it's going to take for you to sell your house. Now, of course, back in 21 and 22, it seemed like houses were selling like hotcakes. They're selling like that. Now, there are a few places where houses are still selling fairly quick, but I would say in many regions of the country, the house sales have slowed down significantly. There's regions of the country where people didn't have their homes on the market for over a year and they still ain't got no sale. Like for me, it took me about 6 months to sell my house. The house I just sold, it took me 6 months. Now imagine trying to sell your house and having no money, having no savings, having to relocate because where you're currently living, the jobs aren't paying nothing. So imagine being in a situation like that and then it takes you 6 months or longer to sell your home. Imagine the amount of money that seller is going to most likely lose by sitting around and waiting, and then lose even more money because again they might have to come to closing with a check. Rather than getting money back, they're having to pay money too. They're not even breaking even. So, in a nutshell, those are some of the reasons why people are regretting their decision to become a homeowner. Now this video, now in closing, this video is not a video to discourage anybody from becoming a homeowner. This video is a video to shed light on the realities of homeownership and the fact that before you enter in homeownership, you need to do your due diligence. You need, speaking, you know what, I almost forgot to mention. Another reason why a lot of people are regretting homeownership is because, well, there were a lot of people back during 21 and 22 that were skipping homeowners. They're skipping home inspections. Some people were buying houses sight unseen. They may have hired a realtor for a virtual tour and, they took the realtor's word. They didn't even go as far as to laying, they didn't bother to lay feet on soil until after closing. And then by then it was too late. Everything has already been done. Everything has already been finalized. And the house, is yours. So you had a lot of people during, about a few years ago, you had a lot of people skipping home inspections. And even people that were responsible and they chose to hire a home inspector. Unfortunately, you have a lot of home inspectors that are either A, they're dishonest, they accept kickbacks from your realtor. So when they inspect your home, they're going to intentionally lie to you about the inspection, basically. Two, you also get home inspectors that, unfortunately, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know what the hell they're doing. So when they inspect your home, they're going to give you wrong information. And things that they should have caught, they're not going to catch because, again, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're not thorough at all. And whenever the housing market is busy like it's been, and it still is in some regions of the country, a lot of these home inspectors, they're going to take on as many jobs as they possibly can. Which means, rather than taking the time to do a thorough inspection for their customers, they're going to rush through the inspection. They're going to half-ass the inspection. There's going to be a bunch of crap that they're going to miss on those inspections. So that when the buyer decides, okay, they're going to go off of what the inspector's report was, and they're going to make the decision to buy the house based on that particular report. So they buy the house, they move in, and what do you know? This is going wrong, that's going wrong. The air conditioner is not working. Come the winter time, the furnace may not be working. Other components of the house may go wrong. And of course, you gotta hire, of course, most people will have to hire professionals to check all those things out. And when they do, surprise, surprise, something that your home inspector should have caught they didn't catch for one reason or another. So basically, due to shoddy home inspections, you have a lot of people buying houses not realizing how much repairs that the house truly needs. Some of them need repairs sooner than later, but a lot of your newer homeowners don't realize that because they hired a home inspector that did a shoddy inspection. And then another reason why a lot of people are regretting being a homeowner is because, another thing. During a house market boom, like what we're getting out of right now, and again, some areas are still experiencing that house market boom. Again, let's talk about the homes that have been freshly renovated. Yes. Let's talk about these renovations that are shoddy. Let's talk about these renovations to where nothing about their renovation was done correctly. Nothing was done in accordance to code. Rather than the renovations being done during the week to where city and county inspectors can drive by and check out the work to make sure everything is on the up and up and being done correctly. You have a lot of these investors. You have a lot of these LLCs that might buy these houses for pennies on the dollar, and then they'll half-ass renovate them, and then they'll sell them at a premium price like they've been doing. So what happens is they'll hire these contractors, and then they'll tell these contractors, or maybe these contractors already know whatever work they choose to do. Either A, they're going to have to do it after hours during the week. B, they're going to have to do the bulk of their work over the weekends. Basically, they're going to have to do the bulk to all of their work during hours to where city officials are not going to be circling around, doing inspections, asking the appropriate questions. And a lot of times, even in cities that require permits to be pulled for certain type of work, you're going to have a lot of these bootleg contractors doing the work and not pulling the proper permits. Because naturally, a lot of these LLCs, they don't want to pay the money to hire licensed and certified contractors to do the work. So what they'll do is they'll hire the crackhead down the street and they'll do the work for a fraction of the price of what a professional would charge. And then, of course, when all the work is done, okay, everything looks nice, everything looks pretty, everything's beautiful. You know, when the potential buyer walks through the house, the house smells good. The house is well staged by the agent. Everything is working. Good beans. So everything is working like it's supposed to. Good beans. So of course they hire the shoddy they hire the shoddy home inspector like I just got done discussing. The inspector doesn't see anything wrong that's significant. They're gonna always say there's something wrong, because if they don't, then it's gonna be obvious that they didn't do their job. So just for the home inspector to appear that A, they know what the hell they're doing, even though many of them don't. B, they're doing their job, even though some of them don't do their job. They're gonna tell you there's something wrong. And a lot of times, they might point out something that's relatively minute. It's almost never gonna be anything significant. So, okay, the inspection is done. The buyer buys the house, and, lo and behold, a whole bunch of crap in the house ain't working. And that's because, A, if you purchase a home that's been freshly renovated, which, by the way, for those of you that are listening to me and you're thinking about buying a house, my advice to you is do not buy any house that has been freshly renovated. Don't do it. Just don't do it. If you do, you will regret it. Because like I just got done discussing, 9.9 times out of 10, those freshly renovated houses were most likely not renovated correctly by licensed and certified professionals. They're probably renovated by the neighborhood crackhead that just needed a few dollars to get his fix. Just saying. Maybe the neighborhood drunk that just needed a few dollars to get his liquor down the street at the liquor store. Maybe they're the ones that did the plumbing. I'm just saying. I've seen it happen. And I've been owned a house to where those were the kind of people that the building company hired. I lived in a house like that. And I got that video on this channel. It was about my house in Lewisburg, Tennessee. So these are some of the reasons why many people are regretting being a homeowner. And there's more reasons out here, but I think I've went long enough. And I think I've gave enough reasons. So for those of you that are shopping around for a home, be very careful, be vigilant, do your due diligence. If you can't find what you want for a price that you feel is reasonable, don't be afraid to wait until a later time. Stay blessed. Catch you guys on the next one.